stress around family side of things, that does overwhelm me quite a bit.
Now, sources have revealed a power struggle within Kate and William's marriage.
I'm so proud of my wife and my father for how they've handled all of last year. My children have managed brilliantly as well.
What happens when the walls that shield a royal family finally crack open? When the silence they've guarded so carefully becomes more dangerous than the truth itself? This morning, as frost clung to the gardens of Windsor and the world still slept, Prince William stood before cameras with shadows beneath his eyes and words that would change everything. His voice was steady, but his pain was unmistakable. Something had shifted. Something could no longer be hidden. And if you felt your chest tighten watching him speak, you already know this isn't just another royal update. This is the moment when duty collided with heartbreak, and a husband had to choose between protecting his wife's privacy and protecting her from the chaos of silence. Stay with us, because what unfolded in those early morning hours reveals a story far more human, far more heartbreaking than anyone outside those palace walls could have imagined. The quiet before the storm. The quiet had been building for weeks, not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the heavy, breathless sort that settles over a household when everyone knows something is wrong, but no one dares to name it. Adelaide Cottage, tucked within the sprawling greenery of Windsor Great Park, had always been Catherine's sanctuary. She loved the way autumn painted the trees gold and crimson, how the leaves brushed softly against the windows like whispers. But this year, that comfort faded quickly. The staff began noticing small things first, how she would pause halfway up the staircase, steadying herself with a hand against the wall, how she retreated to her study earlier each evening, exhaustion written across her face. How even the children, George with his quiet awareness, Charlotte with her sharp eyes, and little Louis with his endless questions, seemed to sense something shifting in their mother. They watched her more carefully now, their laughter a little softer, their goodnight hugs lasting a bit longer. William tried everything to keep life normal. Morning school runs, family dinners around the worn oak table, evening walks beneath the fairy lights Catherine had strung up years ago. But normal was becoming harder to maintain. With King Charles deep in his own medical battle and stepping back from most duties,
schedule of regular treatments, during which time he has been advised by doctors to postpone public-facing duties.
William found himself carrying the weight of the monarchy on shoulders already burdened by fear. Every time he looked at Catherine, he saw the woman he fell in love with at university, but he also saw something else now, a fragility that terrified him. Behind closed doors, tension was growing in ways the public couldn't see. Camilla believed strongly in keeping everything private. The people don't need every detail, she insisted to advisors, her tone leaving no room for argument. Control the narrative or lose control entirely. But Princess Anne saw it differently. She'd warned them weeks ago that silence breeds suspicion, and suspicion can be more damaging than any truth. The two women represented opposite approaches, and their quiet war was making decisions nearly impossible. Then there was the noise from across the ocean. Harry and Meghan's latest podcast episode had dropped hints about truth being manipulated by powerful families. They didn't name anyone specifically. They didn't have to. Royal watchers connected the dots immediately, and suddenly Catherine's name was trending worldwide, not because of anything she'd done, but because of what she hadn't said. The speculation grew louder each day, feeding on the palace's stubborn silence. By early November, Catherine's doctors recommended closer monitoring. Tests were ordered, specialists were consulted, and William knew with a sinking certainty that the story they'd tried so hard to contain was about to break wide open whether they were ready or not. When everything fell apart. The moment that changed everything happened on a quiet evening that was supposed to be simple and safe. November 9th. Catherine had insisted on attending a small gathering at Frogmore Garden Pavilion, a low-key event with families supported by one of her children's charities. It wasn't televised. No major press was invited. Just a handful of people and children she genuinely cared about. "I'll only stay a few minutes," she'd promised William that afternoon, seeing the worry in his eyes. "The children will be disappointed if I don't show up." For the first 8 or 9 minutes, everything seemed fine. Catherine knelt beside a little girl clutching a handmade card, her smile warm and genuine. She asked a shy boy about his drawings, laughed when a child announced proudly that he'd just learned to whistle. Those who were there said she looked tired. Yes, maybe paler than usual, but still herself, still the princess they recognized.
King Charles III makes the announcement that Kate Middleton has officially become a princess.
Then something shifted. Mid-sentence, Catherine paused. Her hand reached out to the table beside her, steadying herself as though the ground had moved beneath her feet. Her smile stayed fixed, but her eyes lost focus for just a heartbeat too long. William saw it instantly. He moved closer, his hand finding her back, his voice low and urgent. Within moments, she was being guided out through a side corridor, away from the curious eyes and the phones that people had innocently brought along. But phones have memories, and they speak louder than any official statement ever could. 30 minutes later, a short video clip surfaced online. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't scandalous, but it was enough. Catherine stepping away, her posture weakened, William's arm wrapped protectively around her shoulders. The clip spread like wildfire. British forums first, then European news sites, then American television screens. Inside the palace, the reaction was immediate. Not loud panic, but the quiet, controlled kind that happens when people who deal in secrets realize the secret is out. Camilla was the first to respond, her voice sharp during a late-night emergency call. "This cannot spiral out of control. One difficult moment doesn't require a national announcement. We maintain silence and composure." Princess Anne disagreed completely. "Silence breeds suspicion," she repeated, her frustration barely contained. "And right now, suspicion is far more dangerous than whatever truth we're trying to hide." William said nothing during that call. He was sitting in a hospital room beside Catherine's bed, his mind torn between two impossible worlds, the duty he'd inherited and the love he'd chosen. The doctors were running accelerated tests, using words like treatment phase and necessary intervention. Each word felt like a weight added to his chest. Outside, the world exploded. Social media hashtags multiplied by the hour. News outlets scrambled for insider information. Morning shows in America ran segments with titles like "Where is Princess Catherine?" and "The Royal Family's Deepening Crisis." Even careful, measured outlets like the BBC acknowledged that the princess's condition might be more serious than anyone had been told.
Clinic in London which treated the Princess of Wales. Details of her condition have not been disclosed, with royal officials saying she wished for her medical information to remain private.
Then came the complication that made everything worse. Just 12 hours after the video leaked, Meghan's newest podcast episode went live. It included a pointed comment about families hiding truth behind polished public images. She didn't name names. She didn't need to. The internet connected the dots in seconds. The reaction was fierce. Some called it insensitive. Others called it calculated. Either way, it added fuel to a fire already burning out of control. Harry tried reaching out, but his message arrived through an aide and felt strangely formal. Sending strength. I hope everything stabilizes soon. It was short, distant, almost diplomatic. Not the words of a brother, but of someone watching from far away, uncertain how to bridge the gap that had grown between them. Late that night, as advisors argued in hallways and tension thickened the air at Windsor, Catherine whispered something to William that changed everything. "Don't let them speak for me. When the time comes, let the truth come from you." It was the moment William realized that staying silent wasn't protecting her anymore. It was hurting her. And the longer they waited, the worse it would become. The dawn decision. The breaking point arrived before the sun did. November 12th dawned cold and pale, the kind of morning where even the sky seemed to hold its breath. Inside the secure medical wing at Windsor, Catherine's condition had shifted again. Not catastrophic, the doctors said, but serious enough to require immediate action. William had been awake all night, moving between her bedside, the hallway, and the small alcove where he took frantic calls from advisors. Shortly after 4:30 in the morning, the lead physician delivered the update in a measured tone that somehow made it sound worse. "We need to move forward with a protected treatment phase. Privacy is critical. Stress must be eliminated." William nodded, but his jaw clenched tight. Privacy. Stress. Two things that had become impossible in his life. He looked at Catherine, asleep under soft white sheets, her face peaceful but pale. She looked like the girl he'd laughed with in the rain at university, the woman who'd stood beside him through every storm. But now she seemed fragile in a way that terrified him. He stepped into the corridor where Princess Anne was already waiting. She wore the same navy coat from yesterday, her expression sharp and determined. "What did they say?" she asked quietly. William repeated the doctor's words. Anne exhaled slowly. "Then we have no choice. It's time." But Camilla, arriving moments later with aides in tow, had a different view. Her voice was cold and clipped. "This isn't the moment for emotional announcements. The king is ill. The country is unstable. We cannot afford to appear weak."
Buckingham Palace, which has announced that the king has been diagnosed with cancer.
William stared at her, really stared, for the first time in days. "This is my wife, not a story to be managed." Camilla didn't flinch. "And this is the monarchy, not a personal diary to be shared with the world." Princess Anne stepped between them. "You're thinking about image, Camilla. But people already sense something is wrong. Pretending otherwise will destroy whatever trust remains." What followed was an argument that shook the very foundations of Windsor. Not shouting. Royals rarely raised their voices, but a collision of wills felt seismic. Camilla insisted that any statement would weaken the monarchy's emotional stability, hinting that Catherine's popularity had grown so strong it might overshadow the institution itself. William countered that the public had embraced Catherine with genuine love, that their support wasn't a threat, but a lifeline. When Camilla said, "Her condition will dominate headlines for months," something inside William snapped. "She isn't weak," he said, his voice rising for the first time. "She's fighting harder than anyone in this family ever has." Silence fell heavy in the hallway. Then, unexpectedly, a door opened. Catherine's doctor stepped out, holding a folded piece of paper. "She asked me to give this to you," he said softly. William unfolded it. The handwriting was delicate but slightly shaky. "When the moment comes, speak gently. Speak the truth. And speak as my husband, not as the heir." His breath caught. Anne touched his arm. "That settles it," she whispered. Camilla's expression hardened, but she said nothing more. Something in that simple, handwritten note had ended the debate. By 6 in the morning, preparations began. The communications team was summoned. A podium was positioned outside Windsor's long library. Aides drafted several versions of a statement, but William rewrote every word himself, refusing to let anyone else shape what Catherine wanted the world to hear. At 6:38, he stood outside the library doors, breathing deeply. Anne placed a steady hand on his shoulder. Security signaled. Cameras clicked into position. The courtyard fell silent. And at 6:42 in the morning, Prince William stepped forward, not as the future king, not as the monarchy's shield, but as a husband who had run out of time to pretend everything was fine. His voice was steady through most of it, but when he reached the final words, it trembled, and the world felt every ounce of his pain. A nation holds its breath. The hours after William's statement unfolded in a strange, heavy stillness. By mid-morning, the news had reached every corner of Britain and beyond. Television presenters spoke in hushed, careful tones. Radio shows abandoned their usual energy. Newspapers rushed to redesign front pages with a single sobering headline, "Princess Catherine enters critical treatment phase." The nation reacted as though something vital had been taken from them. Outside Windsor Castle, people began arriving without instruction. Some brought flowers, others simply stood in silence, hands folded, staring at the ancient stone walls as if willing strength to pass through them. Older couples held each other. Parents knelt to explain things gently to confused children who only knew Catherine as the kind woman from school visits and charity photos.
Prince William and pregnant wife Kate met children who had lost a loved one as they visited a charity in southeast England on Tuesday.
Across London, church bells rang softly. Doors opened early, candles were lit. In Edinburgh, Manchester, Cardiff, and Belfast, small crowds gathered not because they were told to, but because something in them needed to. It was instinct. A nation responding not to royalty, but to humanity. Inside the palace, the atmosphere was different. William returned immediately to Catherine's side, his face still carrying the weight of the morning's announcement. The children were brought to Windsor under careful watch. The moment George saw his father, he rushed into his arms. "Is Mom scared?" he whispered. William held him tightly. "No," he whispered back. "She's brave, and we're all with her." Charlotte stayed close to Princess Anne, holding her aunt's hand, her eyes drifting often toward the closed door of the medical wing. Louis, too young to fully understand, kept asking if he could draw a picture for his mother. The answer was yes. And he did. A bright, hopeful sketch of their family standing beneath a big yellow sun. King Charles remained involved but distant. From his own treatment facility, he received updates through his secretary. Those close to him said he wept quietly when he watched William's statement replayed. He sent a handwritten note to Catherine. "Your courage steadies us all. My love and prayers remain with you." He wanted to visit but was advised against it. His absence, though necessary, cast another shadow over an already darkened moment. Camilla released a brief statement, wishing Catherine strength, but the public reaction was cold. Many noticed how detached she seemed, how quickly she stepped back after the announcement. Critics questioned her earlier resistance to transparency. Supporters insisted she was simply protecting the fragile king. Either way, her silence added tension to an already fractured family. Harry and Meghan responded from California. Harry reportedly called William privately. Though the conversation lasted less than 2 minutes, Meghan issued a public message expressing sympathy, but its carefully crafted tone felt strangely distant. British commentators criticized it, saying it sounded more like a press release than a heartfelt family message. By evening on November 12th, the palace had entered a phase of controlled quiet. No further statements were planned, no images would be released. The world would have to wait, perhaps for days, perhaps longer. Yet despite the uncertainty, something remarkable happened across Britain. Communities gathered without being asked. School children sent cards, neighbors prayed together. For all its divisions, the country found unity not in politics or tradition, but in shared human concern. And deep inside Windsor, where lights in one wing burned long after midnight, William kept vigil at Catherine's bedside. His hand wrapped around hers, willing her to stay, willing her to fight, willing her to return to a world that desperately needed her grace. Night settled slowly over Windsor, washing the castle walls in soft, muted blue. The courtyards emptied, save for a few who simply stood in silence, gazing toward the wing where Catherine continued her battle. In that stillness, it became clear Britain was experiencing something deeper than a royal health crisis. It was confronting the fragility of people it had placed on pedestals for generations. Inside, the lights in Catherine's room glowed faintly, casting warmth against the cold November darkness. William remained beside her, exhaustion lining his face. He wasn't thinking about titles or responsibilities or cameras. In that moment, he was simply a husband, holding the hand of the woman who had been his compass since they were barely more than students. Looking at him, you could see a truth often lost in royal grandeur. Power may shape nations, but love shapes the people who serve them. And perhaps that's the real lesson here, not the crisis itself, but how it strips away everything unimportant. When life narrows to the people we love, political rivalries, public perception, family tensions, they all fade into the background. Catherine's struggle has done what politics and tradition could not. It has made people feel connected again, not because she wears a title, but because she carries her burdens with grace. Her quiet strength, her unwavering kindness, her instinct to protect others even when she herself is vulnerable. These are the reasons the global response has been so immediate and heartfelt. Beneath the unity and compassion, another truth lingers. The monarchy stands at a fragile moment. King Charles is ill, Catherine is fighting, William is stretched between duty and grief. The question whispered in political circles and late-night conversations is this: what happens to the crown's future if the woman who holds its moral center cannot return? This isn't just speculation. It's a reminder that every institution, no matter how old or revered, depends on the humanity within it. And right now, that humanity is being tested. From where we stand watching this unfold, one thing is certain. Catherine has shown the world what quiet courage looks like. She's reminded us that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, a gentle squeeze of a hand, a request that truth be spoken gently. In our own lives, when storms come, and they always do, it's kindness that steadies us, humility that guides us, and love that keeps us standing when expectations threaten to break us. Catherine has lived that truth publicly, even when she didn't have to. Now it's our turn to carry a little of that grace forward. As night deepens over Windsor and the world waits for the next update, one thing remains absolutely certain. This story is far from over. Catherine's fight continues, and so does the unwavering hope of millions who believe she will rise again. Until the next dawn breaks, we hold on to her strength, William's resolve, and the belief that even in the darkest hours, grace can still light the way. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of what truly matters, stay connected with us for more moments that reveal the human side of history. Like, subscribe, and let's walk through these stories together.